going on, everybody? Welcome back to Diesel Creek. My name's Matt. This big hulk that we're standing on is my new to me Kobelco SK250. Now, a few videos back, I showed bringing this thing home and just pretty much just showing it off for what it is. I got a screaming deal on this machine. It's an 06, I believe, 2006 model, and it has somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,700 hours, I think. I can't remember. I wasn't actually in the market for a machine this size, but I was looking for more like a 160, which is like a 30,000 pound machine. But when the price is right and something like this comes across your desk, you just kind of got to say, I think I need that. And actually, I'm darn glad I did, because I have it sitting here on a project that I'm going to be baling a lot of dirt with, so it's going to be quite handy to have. But as most of you will remember, in the first video on the machine, it has a cracked exhaust manifold. The cracked exhaust manifold is really the only thing that's wrong with this thing that I know of. It's got a Mitsubishi 6D34 for an engine, or 30. Yeah, right there, cracked exhaust manifold. It's cracked completely in half, and we lose all of our boost pressure that way. So the way a turbo system works, if you're not familiar, the engine makes all kind of compression, shoves out that hot exhaust gas. They use that to spin a turbine wheel on this side of the turbo, which has a through shaft that runs over to this turbine, which compresses cold air coming from the air filter and compresses it, runs it through an intercooler, and then shoves it into the engine. And that forced air into the engine makes a giant performance difference. So without getting full boost pressure to the turbo, this thing's pretty much gutless. It's got very, very little power, and what little power it has is pretty much all at low RPM. So I did try to put high temp JB weld on that. A lot of people suggested that too in the last video, and I'm here to tell you it lasted about 5 minutes. I've had no I've had no success with high temp JB weld, unfortunately. I have used it in a couple different applications, and every time it lasts for a very short while. The good news is when I did it here, the 5 minutes that it ran with that JB weld on seemed to run really well. So that's good. That means that is our only problem here, and this thing should run pretty darn good after we switch out the exhaust manifold, which I've had beating around in my truck for a week waiting on the new exhaust gaskets. So I have all the parts now. I guess we're gonna go ahead and tear into this thing. I'll fire it up real quick just so you guys can hear exactly what this thing sounds like beforehand, and that way you have something to compare it to. Contact! So yeah, as you guys can see and hear, it ain't good. Let's get that manifold changed out. I'll tell you one really nice thing about working on full-size machinery. You can pretty much set up shop right on top of the thing. Plenty of room to work down in and around the engine, and compact equipment, you don't have that luxury. Turbo! Well, just uncovered more work. There is a slight crack in the exhaust starting right through here. We're gonna need to get that either welded or brazed. It depends on the condition of the metal. There we go. Yeah. Now comes the fun part. Rusted over exhaust bolts that you know are just gonna snap the moment you try to do anything with them. Oh! Now I hope that's a good sign. That's giving me hope for the rest of these bolts that are suspicious looking. I suppose if I'm trying to stay on the bright side here, when these bolts snap, at least I can just put new bolts in them. Ow! I'm done playing around. Ta-da! They're loose. A couple of new bolts were back in business there. One. Dropped that. Saved by the oil filter. No, that's not good. Nope, that's not good at all. The oil return line on the bottom of the turbo here is quite a chore to get to. The bolts, but well, it's easy to get to. It's hard to get something on them, I guess. I think that's about the worst part of this job so far. And this one rounded off bolt. It's gonna cause me grief, I know it. Don't bend that. All right, I'm not associated with these guys whatsoever, but I saw Project Farm do a review on these rounded nut socket removers, or whatever you want to call these things. These are rocket sockets. Man, pretty reasonable, made in the USA, and they worked really good. I just pulled this one. This was the one that was stuck on the manifold there. I broke it loose pretty easy, and you can see it really bit into the nut there. Worked great. So yeah, no real affiliation with them, but I will I'll put these things in my Amazon store if you guys are interested. Link to that's in the description. I'm not sure what happened to the clip explaining what's going on here, but basically the 4 bolts that hold the turbo onto the exhaust manifold were very hard to get to, and you could only get an open-end wrench on them. And of course, after thousands of heat cycles, they were pretty well galled. So I got 3 of them, I think, to eventually come loose, and ended up having to cut the one here, and that's what we're doing right now. Bit of a tight fit for an angle grinder, but I made it happen. Come on. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's been a process. Finally got the turbo out. That was a workout. You know that feeling you get when you order the cheap Chinese parts offline, and then you finally get to remove it, and you're thinking, I don't think that part I ordered is gonna work. Manifold sitting over there on my truck bed, and for the life of me, I think that this is a square turbo flange, and the one that I bought to replace this is a rectangle. Well, regardless, we got to get this old one off of here. All right. Well, it's off. Well, here's the mechanics. Here's the mechanics version of the walk of shame. Ah! All right, so I'm sure some of you are going to be saying, well, you could just weld that or braze that, and there is a chance, you know, that you could do that and that it would hold, but the odds are that it won't. So I bit the bullet and just called the dealership and ordered the proper piece, because I know what'll happen. As soon as I get that thing welded or brazed, I'll put it all back together. It'll last about 5 or 10 minutes, and then it'll crack again, and then I will be one unhappy camper. So just do it once, do it right. All right, we got the turbo in the vise here, and the exhaust off the turbo here, as you can see, has some serious cracking going on around this mount area, and pretty much it goes almost all the way around here. So that part looks like it's still got some metal left to it. This part down here, oh man, it's gonna be hard to weld that, but we're gonna do our best. I'm sure this piece is mighty expensive, and I didn't want to order it. I don't know, I probably should have. I didn't wire wheel it first, but probably take a month of Sundays to get the parts in anyway, so I'm gonna do my best and just try to weld it together. It took a while to chew that much bubble gum, but honestly, for what we had to work with here, I am more than happy with the results. Anybody that's welded thin rusted exhaust pipe can tell you it's no easy task, especially I'm running 035 wire, which is way bigger than needed for something like this, or wanted. The smaller the diameter of the wire, the easier this would have been, but it's what I got. You gotta run what you brung. And behold, straight from the old country, Kobelco genuine parts, huh? There's a slight price difference between the Chinesium knockoff and the genuine, but you know, this one better fit. This was $585. I think the other one was $169. Ouch. Oh. It is much nicer, I'll tell you that. It's actually just a Mitsubishi genuine part, disguised as a Kobelco part. I didn't even think about it. I should have just called the stinking Mitsubishi dealer. Probably got me one cheaper and faster. They got this one well cosmolined up too, so once we get this installed, it's gonna burn all that off there pretty quick. That'll be a stinky mess. Got all the new exhaust gaskets here. We'll go ahead and stick these on, and then we're ready to stick the manifold on. Manifold coming in here. Maybe. Been apart for a little while now. I gotta think about how it all goes together. Come on. I think that looks right. Now, I do not know the torque spec for these bolts. I did attempt to look it up and I couldn't find it anywhere. So, I'm just kind of going off of intuition here. From experience, I know roughly what something like this usually gets torqued to. On something like this, I was always taught you want to start at the center and work your way out. That way, as you clamp down, if there's any expansion you're doing or anything, you're pushing it out to the edges and it should sit down nice and even. So we'll go, did these two, now we're going to do these two, these two, these two, these two, all the way out, and just kind of snug them up to the point where you don't feel like you're yarding on them too hard, but getting them pretty tight too. So there we go. I think we got her torqued down. I'm happy with that. right, everything's back together. We should be ready to go ahead and try to fire this thing up and hear it with the turbo whistle for the first time. I don't know if it'll actually whistle, but you know, it won't be blowing soot everywhere, and it won't sound like the engine is missing on a cylinder. So yeah, let's fire this thing up. Ready? Contact. Well, it sounds light years better than it did before. We'll give it a second to warm up here, and then we'll throttle it up, see what it actually sounds like. Well, hot diggity, this thing sounds awesome. You don't have to worry about that smoke. That's that cosmoline burning off the manifold like I predicted. But it sounds great. You can actually hear the turbo whistling now in the cab, so it's actually making boost, and seems like the engine revs up more responsively. So I think that's mission accomplished. All right, well, it's several days later. I've been using the hoe, and it has been running a lot better. It's definitely has a lot more power since we replaced the manifold. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a complete service on this thing now, and this thing's gonna be ready for action. All right, so I had the big dirty hoe here running for a while. Got it nice and hot before we changed the oil. Now that's always been the way I've done it. I've always got the engines warm or hot. And I said that in a video a couple weeks ago, and somebody took argument with that, and they said that that's really not smart. In my school of thinking, it heats all the oil up and makes it move a lot faster, A. And B, if there's any sludge built up in the engine, the hotter you get it, the more prone that sludge is to coming out. At least that's my line of thinking. So drop a comment down below and tell me what you guys believe about that, or if I'm dead wrong or whatever. Yeah, I've always just been of the mindset that hot is better to change the oil. Right or wrong, here we go. I do love this oil pan. This thing's great. It's got all these baffles in here so the oil doesn't slosh around and stuff. It's on nice wheels that make it easy to slide. No metal on the drain plug, so that's a good sign. That's a lot of oil, Jack. Oh, come on, this stuff isn't free. Quit it. Anytime now. You can stop anytime. Now the oil filter, of course, they put on the back side of the engine where it's just a little bit harder to get to. It's still not bad, you know, pretty easy access, but I really like a lot of the newer machines. They put remote kits on them and put the filters on the side panel doors where you can really get to them nice and easy. At least it's actually going to unscrew for me. Come on. Got 10 miles of threads on it. There we go. Just getting ready to toss the new filter in here, and I always write the date and the hours on the filter before I install them. And you want to see something incredible? I was not even looking to do this or trying at all. I had the machine warming up earlier and I just came up and shut it off. I don't know if you guys can see that. 7,000 hours straight on the dot. Not even a tenth. That's just dumb luck. Well, looks like a kindergartner wrote it, but I can read it. So, for oil, we decided to go with the Shell Rotella T5. This is their semi-synthetic blend, and you're supposed to be able to go longer between oil changes with this stuff, and it's supposed to do better in low temperatures, and it's got a bunch of other additives and stuff in it that the regular T4 does not. Probably going to end up keeping this machine, so I figure we'll feed it the best stuff, and it of course meets all the Mitsubishi engine specs and then some, so should be good to go. If you want a girl to hang around, you got to treat her right, right? Ready to install. One thing I'll say, I think Kobelco lacks a little bit over the other competition. These belly pans or bottom pans, whatever you want to call them on an excavator. If there were a dozer, it'd be a belly pan, but they're pretty thin. They get bent up pretty easy. You can see this one's taken a beating over the years. Luckily, it's still here. I know a lot of the Cat machines and other brands, these things are substantially thicker. So, yeah. Well, dump some oil in this thing and we're ready to go. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to clean this machine. Most of you know I picked this thing up over the winter, so I haven't even had it since it's been warm. This is the first warm weather this machine's been in. Look at this. There's a tree growing out of it. A tree. Ugh. Got a whole root system. If you guys don't have yourself a big funnel, get one. I don't know how long I struggled before I finally upgraded. Yep, most of these machines hold about 5 gallons. Looks like this one's going to be right around that too. Yeah, it's a little over full. That's probably about perfect. We'll start it up. Should be landing right in the full range. Perfect. Right on the money. Right on the full mark. So I was going to show you guys changing the fuel filter too. It's right here, but I actually changed it without you the other day. I was loading dirt out of the borrow pit over here for the garage building, and it was kind of sluggish, so I changed the filter. When I did it, I loaded it plumb full of ATF, put it back on there. It seemed to help a little bit, so I think the filter was restricted just a little bit, but the amount of moss in this thing is unbelievable. Look at it. It just peels up like a carpet. I'll save that all for the cleaning video. Anyways, the last filter we have to change today was going to be the inner air filter here. With that stuff all buttoned up and taken care of, I think the old Kobelco here is ready for action. I don't know what the future holds this year, but I'm sure that this machine is going to get used quite a bit out here, and we might even be taking it to some jobs and doing some other stuff. So there is a little bit more in-depth preventative maintenance that we're going to get into here in the future. I have some pins and bushings that we're going to replace in the stick and boom, so that's going to be quite a job. And we're going to go ahead and take some oil samples from the swing gearbox as well as the final drives. Like I said, I'm planning on keeping this thing, so I figure I'll go ahead and do the samples, send them out, and then we'll have the results back and talk about them in the next video. And hopefully it's all good news. In that video, I think we were also going to go ahead and bust out the pressure washer and steam clean this whole thing off, because I am excited to see what is underneath all of this lichen and moss and mildew and garbage. The thing sat for quite a while before I bought it, and it definitely shows it. Anyways, guys, that's another job in the books. If you like this video, don't forget, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out the channel. Doesn't cost you guys a dime. If you guys want to support the channel in other ways, we have sweet merchandise on sale over at dieselcreek.com. There's a link down in the description. You can pick up some sweet new merch over there. That's all I got for this one though, guys. If you like the content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so I can catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Later.